Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the first edition of Show and Tell. Show and Tell is going to be 4 videos talking about work that I've done over the last 10 years, maybe more actually. No, 20 years, maybe more than 20, 30 years. Okay, 30 years. They'll be ranging from paintings, which is going to be the subject matter of this video, design, CDs, and things like that, audio production, like The Adventures of the Hakim, and writing of books. So to start the series off with, we're going to talk about my work, my paintings. Now, like most people, I have a passion for things, and my normal things like superheroes, sort of sorcery, fantasy, and things like that. So I started off just painting what I wanted, and then found out I had a knack for it, and used paintbrush to do things like this. Basic stuff, really. This was after I became Muslim, so some of the stuff that I did when I was a kid I don't have because I threw them away, or they got lost, or they've been spread to the 4 corners. So what I'm going to show you is just like stuff I hang on to over the years. Again, just traditional paintbrush, simply a bit of detail there. Paintbrush, figure drawing, again, nothing special, gouache on watercolor paper. Then I decided to get serious and decided to go into airbrush illustration. Now an airbrush is like a glorified spray can, and this here is what an airbrush looks like. So you can see it's got the long nozzle there with the pipe at the bottom, and at the beginning here the paint comes out. The paint goes on the top and it comes out, you press it and it comes out, and you can make very nice, elaborate, colourful pictures. Now the first freelance job I got was working for a company in Wembley in the UK who did Kung Fu game, not Kung Fu game covers, Kung Fu film covers. And this was the first commission I got. You can see there's 2 guys fighting, and there's like an ancient master in the background there with the 2 fists coming together. And they were so happy with that they gave me another commission. There you go, painted on airbrush, with airbrush on a huge canvas, huge board. And the actual image here of this man, I had to get a piece of tracing paper and hold it up on the TV screen and trace out the guy's figure, because I didn't have any photographic source material for that. This guy I did, and you can even see the repeat of it here somewhere. But this guy here, I had to sketch from the screen itself. Also got more work. This was a company in Leeds. You've heard of B movies. This was like a triple D movie or something. It was so cheap and nasty, but they wanted like a Hollywood cover, so I did this for them and designed the logo, the Eye of Satan. So after just realizing that I could actually do work to a professional degree, I decided to put together a portfolio of work that would show my skill to different companies and to agencies. And this is an example of something I pitched to companies like publishers that did science fiction books. And you can see here's a figure that I drew, that I designed the costume for, and approach different companies with my work, trying to get work. Here's another illustration that I drew and colored in, airbrush illustration. But on the other side of the spectrum, this was to do with sword and sorcery. This was called Red Khan. This was painted back in 1988. Also, what was happening in the 80s was that a lot of video companies were using illustration for their cover. So they weren't using photography like they use now, they'd use a lot of illustration. So I decided to put some work together to show that I could capture the likeness of Hollywood stars. And here is one that I did. It's a fictitious cover, but again it shows the potential employees that I can capture the likeness of well-known Hollywood actors. Of course, this is Crocodile Dundee 2, done before Crocodile Dundee 2 was actually out. And the interesting thing about this illustration is that it was painted on canvas. Can you hear that? Canvas, as you know, has like a rough texture to it, and it's usually used for traditional oil paintings, but I experimented with using the airbrush on canvas, and this is why you've got that kind of photorealistic look to it. More examples of my work here. Again, you can see the size of these things, that once they're printed down to a smaller size, the colors and everything looks much more detailed. But this is normally how they start off, this kind of size. An illustration of this type would take me about a week but if I really pushed it, about 3 days. At the time, Batman was a big deal as well, so I did this again to show that I can do the likeness of characters. There you go, Jack Nicholson as the Joker, Kim Basinger as Vicky Vale, and Michael Keaton as Batman. Again, to show that I can capture the likeness of Hollywood stars. There you go, again, on canvas, Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones, with an anonymous dude with a gun in the background there. Again, explosion, you know, there's always some kind of explosion on the cover of these video games, or video sleeves. Good old-fashioned advertising, not really for a film, but just a small illustration that I had. It was like this big, and I blew it up that big to kind of show again that I can do detail, I can do photorealism. Okay, something that we went into a sort of Afro-centric illustration. You can see Africa in the center there, like the power is emanating from it. This guy's got some really kind of cool locks, very moody background there. And again, illustrated on canvas, which again gives us that kind of photorealistic look to it. This took me about a week, 3 days to do. Also on the Afrocentric tip was this picture that I've been banding around for a while. This was like an image. What would it be like if the Egyptians had carried on? They hadn't stopped, they had carried on, and what would it look like in the future? This is my idea of what it would look like, or what it would look like. And you can see again, I've had to draw the figure and then design the armor around it, and then paint it using references for how the headpiece would look and everything. And this was actually used for a book cover, for a magazine cover. So you can see, they didn't use the whole thing, but you can see it's all there. Also at the time, Malcolm X, the film had just come out, and I did this picture to try and capture the spirit at the time. Malcolm X was a massive influence in me becoming Muslim, so I painted this picture of Malcolm here with a gun, looking very revolutionary without the black leaders there, and here's the infamous or famous X there. So after a while I realized that because doing airbrush illustration is very involved, you to get masking film, you have to get a compressor, you have to get inks, and it's quite expensive. But doing things on a computer is considerably cheaper. So I started to do things on a computer, and this is just one of many examples that I can show you, but I'll just show this for now. This is one of the characters from my Millennium 5. At the time it was called the 5, but we've changed it to Millennium 5. This is the leader Quartz, all done on computer again. Not done to a high degree, because I could have taken this to a higher level of detail, but I haven't. But in terms of doing things like that, I mean, I still have to keep my hand in there and be traditional. So I did a lot of that when I was working at a school as a teaching assistant, and I did a lot of drawings for kids there. So you can see pictures that I've done. You can probably see the lines in some of these pictures because I did everything on a notepad. And you can see some of the characters that kids loved. I mean, you can imagine I've done hundreds of pictures over the 5 years I was there, but these are just a few that I kept and cut out and stuck on this board here, and I was known as Michael. So, there you go. That's just a very brief outline of some of the work I've done. Hopefully it may have inspired somebody to try and do something similar. If you have anything that you'd like to show and tell, inbox me and we'll try and figure out a way that we can get that shown and told on Facebook here. The next few show and tells will be talking about design. So look forward to hearing your guys' feedback, and I'll speak to you guys soon. Assalamu alaikum.